morning everyone, Kalla here, welcome to my live stream, glad you could make it today. So today we're back to playing Great Ace Attorney Chronicles. Last time we were defending a client who, towards the end of the trial, was not seeming all that innocent. But we got him a not guilty verdict, I guess. He was definitely manipulating evidence. And then we got a little video that involved someone being stuck inside that murder omnibus while it was on fire, and I don't know who that was, and I don't know if they're okay. And that's pretty much where we were. Hello, Kevin. So, let's go jump into case 4. Will this be related? I don't know. But we're gonna find out. The Adventure of the Clouded Kokoro. Investigation Part 1. Ooh, we get an investigation on this one. Ooh. Look at those pictures.
I begin to think, Wilson, said Sholmes, turning his head languidly in my direction, that there is more to this case than that which we have observed. Indeed, that there may be another part to this story that we are yet to discover. His eyes wandered, following the steam rising from his cup of herbal tea.
Hey, wait, I have a cup of herbal tea.
Leading him to the distant memory.
This was a good preparation.
To the young lady collapsed on the pavement along Briar Road, and to the knife in her back. Lit in the soft glow of gas lamps, a most extraordinary scene had been set. And under the cover of a light fog, the curtain had risen silently on the insoluble mystery of our invisible killer.
Invisible killer. Ooh. I doubt they're actually invisible, but you know. I'm the chosen detective. I didn't even plan this. I had no idea that was going to be mentioned, but I was just before the stream. I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go make myself a cup of chamomile tea. It seems it's appropriate for this one. 19th of February, 9:47 a.m. British Supreme Court Lord Chief Justice's office. You induce that she's been stabbed. Yeah, I think the cause of death might be stabbing. Just a little bit. Did you sleep last night, Mr. Naruhodo? No, not at all. It was an enormous hotel, wasn't it? The rooms were so luxurious, I felt like we were staying in a palace. And with all the gaslights twinkling, it was brighter than day even in the middle of the night. What about the enormous beds? After my time on the SS Burrier, I wasn't going to waste a single inch of that space. I spent the entire night rolling from one side of the mattress to the other. Oh yes, it really was the sort of night you can only dream of normally. Except when I learned that we owed £3 for the rooms, the dream quickly turned into a nightmare. Oops, sorry about that. The building was so impressive and the entrance so inviting, I just wandered in without thinking. In a lodging house in Japan, that sum of money would put a roof over your head for a whole year. I did try, but I'm afraid I couldn't help my tears when we were presented with the bill. I really am sorry. Well, never mind. We must find some more affordable lodging straight away, though. If we're not careful, her entire stipend may be used up in 10 days or less. Oh, London is a scary place. Yeah, London has a lot of hotels that are way too expensive. In fact, getting a reasonably priced hotel in London is not easy. Ah, good morning to you at this early hour. Good, I guess two it was right. 4 to 5 star hotels are expensive. Oh, yes, well... Good morning to you, Lord Chief Justice. We have come to report on the outcome of the trial at the Old Bailey yesterday. Susato-san is amazing. She doesn't bat an eyelid, even in the presence of the imposing Lord Strongheart. Yes, I believe you had a very comprehensive initiation into British courtroom practices. Oh, yes, it was very eye-opening, thank you. And in accordance with your instructions, Lord Strongheart, Mr. Naruhodo performed his duty to the end. Yes, I've already been appraised of events. I don't know what sorts of prices the more expensive hotels in London are. I try not to look at those. Once it goes over like £50 per person per night, I'm like, ooh, I don't really want to pay that. Which is kind of most of them. But hey. I think part of those sideburns isn't just sideburns. Part of it is beard. I think that technically, I don't know. Anyway, where was I? Yes, I've already been apprised of events. You conducted a remarkable defense. You may consider the test passed. Oh. No longer are you a student from the Empire of Japan. You may henceforth claim to be a fully fledged lawyer. Thank you, I've done like 2 lots of lawyering in my life. My country is delighted to welcome young talent from such a remote eastern land. Thank you very much. So, I'm a lawyer now. Now, in view of your new appointment, I have a fresh case in mind for you. It's literally been a day! I'd like you to take it on at once. I trust that won't be a problem. I mean, we're not gonna tell him it's a problem, but seriously, this is like day 2 we're in London, and this is case 2. Another case already? Nothing trains a lawyer better than practical experience. I'm sure I don't sense dissatisfaction, do I? It's just that yesterday's trial ended unusually. I haven't quite come to terms with it. What's to come to terms with? The man was cleared. Well, actually, the thing that's to come to terms with is the fact that I really, really started to think he did it. But I'm not going to tell you that, Mr. Strongheart. It is definitely easier to become a lawyer this way, right, than normal. I knew some law students back when I was at university. They have to do a lot. What more were you hoping for? The truth? I was kind of hoping for the truth, sir. The culpability of the defendant has not, at the present time, been established by this court. Consequently, the jury will not be required to proffer judgment. Oh no, I've got to do my gilded again. No. With, once again, the apology for the awful Irish accent I'm about to do. Well, Lord Van Zeeks, it's been a pleasure, so it has. And as for you, my dear fella, I couldn't have asked for a better defence. I just can't help wondering if Mr. McGilded really was innocent. Oh, you are? Rinosuke, you are gonna say that in front of the Lord Chief Justice, okay. Okay. Mr. Naruhodo. It's just that I never managed to ascertain the truth. And then the trial ended. Well, you needn't let it trouble you for a second longer. Sorry? What do you mean, Lord Strongheart? Oh, okay, so it was Mr. McGilded in the murder omnibus. Okay. I wasn't certain if it was. I guess now we know. Magnus McGilded passed away immediately following the trial. No! What? Mr. McGilded is dead? I feel like that last dead should have been louder to make those pigeons fly away at the back, but you know. I have 19 minutes and 41 seconds until my next engagement. Time enough to talk. Okay. What happened to Mr. McGilded? Yeah, passed away is a very subtle way of saying died screaming in agony in a fire in a locked omnibus. I don't understand. What happened? How can he be dead? After the trial concluded yesterday, there was a great commotion in the Old Bailey. As you'll presumably recall, an omnibus had been wheeled into the courtroom. Yes, of course. That was the scene of the crime which Mr. McGilded had been accused of. Precisely. Well, while the bailiff's attention was diverted by some other matter, the omnibus went up in flames. No! How could such a thing have happened? That is being investigated as we speak, but already the police have identified a corpse found inside the charred shell of the carriage as that of McGilded. That's awful! The man must have slipped inside while the bailiff's attention was elsewhere. That bailiff really needs to pay more attention. Didn't the bailiff bring McGilded in to investigate us at the end? I feel like he did. Or one of the bailiffs, anyway. And how could that have happened? That is also being investigated as we speak. Thinking back now. Immediately after the trial, Mr. McGilded did mention going back into the courtroom to look at the omnibus. Well, I must be making tracks now. It is time for the inspection. Sorry? What inspection? They're going to examine the omnibus again, so I'm told. I asked if I could be present for it myself. An inspection of the omnibus? Not to my knowledge. I don't believe Scotland Yard had any intention of re-examining the carriage. But then who was Mr. McGilded talking about? Never mind that now. The Yard is making a thorough investigation. This matter is no longer any concern of yours. Leave it to the police. Yeah, but I want to know the answer! Poor Mr. McGilded. Okay, British court. So, how did you find your first taste of our country's Supreme Court? Oh, well, I don't know. I mean, it was... wow! Mr. Naruhodo means that the whole experience was steeped in the solemnity of Great Britain's long history. No, that's not what I said, and it's not what I meant either. It's really a world apart from our own judicial system in Japan, which is only a few short decades old. Now, Susato-san has such a way with words. And you seem to have a way of failing to find the right ones. Is she also psychic? The judicial system here is the most advanced in the world. Learn all you can. The most advanced in the world, is it? It was fortunate that your very first trial was a simple affair. You call that simple, Mr. Strongheart? That was not simple. Simple? That was simple? As I believe I mentioned yesterday morning, it was a trial you couldn't lose. Wait. Mr. Strongheart, were you behind the tampering of evidence? Did you know Mr. McGilded was going to be tampering with evidence? In what way was it not possible for me to lose? I don't mean to be contrary, Lord Strongheart, but the case was anything but simple. It was rigged from the start. Yeah, clearly it was rigged from the start. Not very well, because we almost came close to losing it more than once, but... The circumstances of the case were so incriminating, I was stunned when I first heard them. In fact, I'm still finding it hard to believe that we managed to get a favourable verdict. Heh heh heh. Is something funny? No, my apologies. However, the fact is that you did receive the not guilty verdict you set out to achieve. And that can only be attributed to exceptional talents, wouldn't you agree? Yeah, I guess. I did work hard. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know about talent, but I worked real hard for that. Well, never mind. You exceeded my expectations, I freely admit. That much, at least, is an undeniable truth. Which is precisely why I've prepared the new case for you that I mentioned before. What's going on? What was he going to say before? Alright, the new case. Which is clearly about a stabbing. Could you perhaps give us some more details about the new case you mentioned? Don't tell me it's a murder and the trial starts in 10 minutes. Luckily, I don't think it starts in 10 minutes since the save file said this was an investigation, but you know. Don't worry, it's nothing so alarming or quite so urgent as your last assignment. In fact, this case is completely different. Completely different? But the last one was a stabbing, and this is also a stabbing. I failed to see why how they're completely different. Oh, I see. Did he just read my mind? That is to say, no one has died, as yet. Oh, okay. No one's dead. And the trial will not be today. There is plenty of time to research the case thoroughly. 23 hours, 43 minutes, and 19 seconds to be precise. So, tomorrow then. So, the trial's tomorrow then. Is everything alright? Oh, yes. I'm just a little confused, that's all. Yesterday's trial was... well, it's left me wondering if I'm really cut out for being a lawyer. Naruhodo-san, you should be proud of yourself for what you did last time. Oh, Mr. Naruhodo. I don't know if I could face standing in that courtroom again after Mr. McGilder's trial. Ah, yes, I nearly forgot. There is one similarity with yesterday's case. Is that the fact that it was a stabbing? Once again, there is currently no one to advocate for the defense. Oh, okay, so there's two similarities. That there is no one currently to advocate for the defense and that someone was stabbed. Oh. If the situation remains unchanged, the trial will start tomorrow with the defendant unrepresented. And if that happens, I need not remind you of the inevitable outcome. The most terrible end awaits the defendant. Yes, that's right. Here we go again. Your time is up. You will have to excuse me. I would advise you to begin making preparations for tomorrow's trial. After all, the clock is ever ticking. Yeah, I can see the clock is ever ticking. Literally behind you. All of those gears. There is now but 23 hours, 26 minutes and 39 seconds until the court sits. Last time he mentioned the 23 hours, he said there was plenty of time. And one more thing, Mr. Naruhodo. There is something I should like to ask you. Oh, what's that? Yesterday you remarked upon something. That you intend to see through the will of your late compatriot, Mr. Asogi. I would be interested to hear exactly what you mean by that. Inside 34 seconds. Oh, well, Kazuma always used to say, you see, that he wanted to learn how the greatest justice system in the world worked so he could change ours in Japan. Now that he's gone, I'd like to work towards that myself, and there's another thing. Oh. Another thing? Continue. On the way here on the steamship, he said something to me. There's something very important that I have to do. Something very important, and what exactly would that be? He never had a chance to tell me. I suppose he would have done if he'd ever made it to Great Britain. You're out of time. Well, thank you for the enlightening discussion. Did I get all of... Yep. I got all of Naruhodo's line, okay. Mr. Naruhodo, what's all this about? Mr. Asogi never once mentioned anything of the sort to me. I urge you both to focus your attentions on the matter at hand. I've taken the liberty of summoning the police inspector in charge of the case. Man, he really does look like a police inspector. Huh. Sort of Victorian police inspector. You've got your bowler hat and your great coat and everything. And the suit. He'll be able to apprise you of the details. How long has he been there? So I wish you the best of luck and bid you farewell. There's something very important that I have to do? Kazuma-sama, what did you mean? I wish I knew, but honestly he never told me. Anyway, we'd better talk to the detective, don't you think? Yes, you're right. I hope I'm just imagining it, but I wouldn't say he looks pleased to see us at all. Examine. Ooh, can I look around this place now? Look at these menacing metal giants facing each other across the room. I believe yes, they're suits of armor. Oh, right. I thought maybe they were like the lion dogs we have in Japan guarding shrine gates. No, not at all. In fact, in Europe, suits of armor like these are always possessed by evil spirits, you know. Not always, Suzato. Not always. Sometimes they're just decoration. And they roam around in the middle of the night. Really? Is there nothing you don't know, Miss Suzato? This book tells me everything I need to know about everything. If you're ever unsure, just ask. Where did she get that incredible tome? Okay. What else can we look at? Ooh, candelabra. Oh, no, apparently we're looking at the bookshelves. Okay. Just look at all the naughty books packed together on these shelves. They go from floor to ceiling. And they're all books that you couldn't hope to come by in Japan. It's like a dream. Yes, a very bad dream. They're not all about British law either. There are books about the judicial systems of other Western nations. So it's all about law. France, Germany, Spain, Holland. I feel the need to point out at this point that Holland isn't a country. It is a province in the country of the Netherlands. And... well, I mean, I don't know, maybe it was a country at this point, but I don't know. I don't really know the history, but I know that in modern days it is not actually the name of a country. And that is a mistake people make a lot. I did, I did temp work for the Royal Mail at one point. They drummed that into us. What about Russia? Why do you ask? I was wondering about asking the Lord Chief Justice how you say wardrobe in Russian. What do you think? I think perhaps it's a thought best abandoned. Also, I already asked Google about that. I'm guessing America at this point doesn't have a judicial system that this guy feels he needs to know about. Is this some kind of clock? Actually, I think we might be inside some kind of giant clock. Yeah, what gave you that idea? But those gears are larger than anything you'd find on a steam locomotive, even. It's eerie. Do you think clocks are some sort of hobby of his? The Lord Chief Justice, I mean? Well, boys do enjoy fiddling around with machines, don't they? I'm not sure you could fiddle with cogs that size, and I'm certain you couldn't call him a boy. Still, it's amazing how little noise these cogs make, considering how large they are. There's actually something quite soothing about that precise rhythm. Yeah, I mean, it's not bad, is it? You're rootin', tootin' and shootin'. Yeah, I guess you would be right. Ooh. The chair! Yes, I'm keeping the police detective waiting. I'm aware of this. But I want to look at everything. This must be Lord Chief Justice's desk. I believe it's made of marble. It looks more like an over-the-top tombstone that's toppled over to me. I think that's your fanciful imagination at work again, Mr. Naruhodo. It feels like everything that's normally made of wood and paper at home is made of bricks and stone here. I know. That's why this place feels so overbearing, I'm sure. Okay, we can't look at the red carpet. We've looked at the books. We've looked at the... Ooh, hello. Right, let's... Can I go sideways? Oh no. Okay. I was trying... Never mind. Skippy, 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 skip. We already heard about the books. How do I go from side to side again? Oh, it's this. There we go. There we go. It's on the buttons. There's nothing else to look at on that edge. And there's nothing else to look at on that edge. So I guess we're going to talk. We're going to look at what he has in his hand. It's a cone of chips. Fish and chips, actually. Good old newspaper cone of fish and chips, eh? Sorry, should I not have agreed with you there, Kevin? I mean, I don't really know exactly what period of American history this lines up with. So I mean, it could be ye olde Western times. I don't know. That's why I was just agreeing with you, because I don't know. Look at those magical fish and chips. They keep regenerating. Could we trouble you? Okay, I need a voice for the police guy. What do you think? Something like that. Lovely weather, isn't it? What's the weather got to do with anything? Listen to me, you young Japanese upstart. Some frippery about the weather doesn't get every English gent eaten out your hand, you know. But Susato-san told me it was foolproof. I mean, it is a pretty good way of starting a conversation here. I mean, lovely weather isn't necessarily the right phrase. Complaining about the weather gets you more places. We like complaining about the weather. I'm a busy man, a very busy man. There's a crime scene to investigate, but I'm here having to give the likes of you a talking to. Oh, I'm ever so sorry. Can you imagine what the other officers there will be saying, Haven't seen Gregson anywhere, have you? No, he's too busy with the bigwigs these days. And all because of some bumpkin who's here on a jaunt from a country I never even heard of. Hear that ripping sound? That's my reputation at the yard going to tatters. There's no need to rip us apart as well. I don't believe we've been introduced. This is Mr. Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a defense lawyer. Eh? It's a pleasure to make your acquaintance. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Sue... Eh? It's lovely weather we're having today, isn't it? It is unseasonably fine, I grant you. London winters don't see a lot of sunshine. Unbelievable, how did she pull that off? By being cuter than you, that's how she pulled that off. So, Lord Strongheart has asked me to fill you in on the case. The name's Tobias Gregson. Inspector Gregson to you, I'm from Scotland Yard. Gregson? Inspector Gregson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Does this detective's name mean something to her? Is this detective's name in the Herlock Sholmes things? Alright, so it was in Industrial Revolution kind of times. Okay. Still doesn't help me that much. History is not my greatest subject. even within this country. Mostly because school kept insisting we learn about wars, which is like my least subject of interest. Well... I kind of stopped being interested in history once firearms start to be a thing. Give me swords and armor, and I'm interested in learning about that. Modern stuff, not really my bag. Inspector, you perhaps... The Inspector Gregson? You're acting like you know this man, Mr. Zato, but he's a London detective. Oh, I do know him! Very well, in fact. Very well? Yes, he features prominently in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Oh, in that publication. What's it called again? Rants magazine? That's right! Inspector Gregson and Mr. Sholmes enjoy a wonderful friendly rivalry. Really? You rival the great Mr. Sholmes? That's incredible! Oh, well, I don't know about that. Mr. Sholmes isn't a professional like myself, of course, but he does come up with the goods from time to time. Mr. Sholmes is equally complimentary about you, Inspector, isn't he? You've earned his highest praise. Gregson is the pick of a bad lot of all the Scotland Yarders. Those were his own words. So, well, that's not particularly complimentary. That's best of a bad bunch. That's his highest praise? Well, Mr. Sholmes isn't particularly known for giving compliments, you see. That he is not, and thanks to that magazine, my name's known all over London town now. That's great, isn't it? I have to admit that to start with, I was a little, well, flattered by all the attention. Everyone wanted to shake my hand, and my reputation at the yard went through the roof. Well, that's wonderful. No, it is not. There's nothing more sinister than the man on the street. People are always looking at me now. They're whispering rumours about me under their breath, I'm sure. Rumours? Are you quite sure? He's changed since he started appearing in those stories. The fame's gone to his head. Stuff like that. Gosh, do you really think people are saying such mean-spirited things about you? Like I said, they whisper. So I can't catch exactly what they're saying, but I know what folk are like. I'm sure that's what they're saying, as sure as eggs is eggs. I get the feeling this detective could be very hard work. Oh dear, perhaps a sudden rise to fame does change people. The case. So, about the case the Lord Chief Justice mentioned before? Nothing to tell, really. As far as we're concerned at the yard, it couldn't be simpler. Oh dear, that probably means that as far as we're concerned as lawyers, it couldn't be more complicated. I wish you were wrong about that, but I have a nasty feeling you're right. A young woman was walking along the pavement on Briar Road when she was stabbed from behind. Fortunately, it wasn't fatal, but she's still laid up in hospital unconscious. That's despicable! What sort of coward would attack the poor woman from behind? I suppose you would have finished whoever it was off with a Susato takedown, would you? That is neither here nor there, Mr. Naruhodo. Hi Nick, what you missed was the person who got incinerated in the omnibus at the end of last stream was Mr. McGilded. So whether he was innocent or guilty. He's dead now. We've got a new case. We don't know much about it, aside from that a lady was stabbed in the back. We're talking to an inspector from Scotland Yard, who happens to be in the stories about Sherlock Sholmes, and finding out about it. Brace yourself, Ryunosuke. You've angered her now. Anyway, after something of a whirlwind investigation, the criminal was arrested. He barely had time for a cup of tea after the incident took place, to be honest. So there must have been something left at the scene that led you directly to the culprit? Or perhaps a reliable witness who recognized the person in question? Let me stop you right there. You're wasting your time on this one. Sorry? There's nothing you can do. There's no way to help the bloke now. Why ever not? Simple. The prosecutor that's been assigned to the trial tomorrow is Lord Baroque von Zeeks, who I've already beaten in court once. No! Sounds like you've heard of him then. Oh, yes, we are very familiar with Lord Van Zeeks. Believed to be the harbinger of death itself. The Reaper of the Bailey. Reaper of the Bailey. Lord Baroque von Zeeks, who we faced in court only yesterday. Mr. McGilder told us about him before the trial, didn't he? When Van Zeek stands for prosecution, they call the accused his sacrificial lambs. And in every single trial in which he's been the prosecutor, the accused has been damned. I would say except this last case, except that McGilder burned alive. So I guess he technically hasn't lost his thing then. This Reaper of the Bailey nickname. I suppose he's earned that because every defendant he advocates against is found guilty, is that it? Well, if that's the case, we should inform you, Inspector, that in yesterday's trial against Lord Van Zeeks, Mr. Naruhodo secured a verdict of not guilty. And what of it? Oh, I think... That means that even against the Reaper of the Bailey, it's not impossible to save the defendant. No, you really don't have a clue, do you? What do you mean? What happened to that bloke in the end, eh? He's dead. Ah. Magnus McGilder came a cropper in that omnibus when it went up in flames. So you can't rightly say you saved the defendant, can you? What are you saying? Look, if Van Zeeks could get the dirt to stick on everyone, he'd be a miracle worker. But that's not how it goes. He doesn't work miracles, he works magic. Black magic. Look, I know I called him a vampire. But I didn't actually think there was something supernatural about the bloke. Now you're telling me he's some kind of wizard. I'd have a good long think about that if I were you. Are we really supposed to believe that? Right, well, I filled you in as requested and I'm very nearly out of chips. So I'll be heading back to the crime scene now. We're still carrying out a few investigations there. It was Briar Road, you said, didn't you? Where the incident took place. Yeah, it's not going to be an accident because someone got stabbed in the back. That's correct, ma'am. And if you head over to the holding cells, you can meet the criminal himself. You've branded him a criminal already? Yeah, what about innocent until proven guilty, eh? Eh? He's as good as. Shaking like a leaf in his cell, he is. He'll give you a chuckle, if nothing else. He's inmate 53. Speak to the jailer and he'll show you the way. Inmate 53. Thank you. So there's no helping anyone against the Reaper of the Bailey, they say. Is something troubling you, Mr. Naruhodo? Well, yeah, the fact that Mr. McGilded is dead and we still don't really know if he actually did it or not. To tell the truth, when I recall the trial yesterday, I can't stop myself from shaking. The idea of facing the Reaper in court again is... Well, if you think it's too much for you, there's no shame in turning the case down. That takes courage too. But if the man they've arrested is innocent... You could well imagine he would be shaking like a leaf in his cell. And I, for one, wouldn't find the sights of that funny. So... If I'm honest, I'm still reeling from the shock of yesterday's events myself. And I'm really not sure if I'll be able to help this man, whoever he is. But I'd like to try, so I think I'm going to make some inquiries. Will you help? Did you really think you had to ask? After all, I am your judicial assistant. Thank you. So then, shall we? Yes, let's go! Alright, move. Do we want to go to the scene of the crime or to the prison first? I feel like going to the prison first and going to see the accused. Let's do that before we go look at the crime scene. Wow, this is a dark, dank prison cell if I ever saw one. It's even got manacles screwed into the wall. Actually, this is less a prison cell, more of a dungeon. 19th of February, local prison, cell 9. So these are British prison cells. Oh, they're ghastly. It feels just like a dungeon. That's what I was saying, Suzette. Yes, and having experienced it in Japan myself, I can assure you that our wooden cells feel a lot cozier than these cold stone walls. Oh, don't, Mr. Naruhodo, you're making it seem worse. Apparently, our client is in this cell here. But it's so dark at the back there, I can't make him out. I wonder what he's like. Inmate 53, your legal representative is here to see you. Stop hiding at the back of the cell and show your face at once. Am I a cat as yet with no name? Calling me by a number? It's utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I refuse to answer. Mr. Naruhodo, what do you think is going on here? I have no idea, but I wasn't just hearing things, was I? That tirade of complaints was in Japanese. his eyes are interesting. What is going on with those pupils? Shaking like a leaf, but he still has quite the mouth. Yep. Excuse me, but... Sorry. Excuse me, but who... Shh! Quiet! Yeah, shaking like a leaf seems kind of appropriate. They're all around, hiding. I know they are. They're watching, listening. Even now, I can sense it. Right. So, could I ask you who exactly... There you are! You've come to curse me, haven't you? Don't try to hide it, you're a ghost! A ghost? We mean you no harm, prisoner-san. Are you... Japanese, by any chance? Oh, his pupils are kind of back to normal now. This is beyond my wildest dreams. Forgive me for that outburst before, I'm so sorry. Oh, it's fine, we were just a little surprised, that's all. Imagine it! It's been 12 long months since I left my hometown, and here I am in a frightful fix in a foreign land. So hearing the sweet, sentimental tones of a compatriot's voice here in this damp, dark hellhole was a most monumentally moving moment! Wow. Who could have guessed that this new client Lord Strongheart assigned to us would turn out to be a fellow Japanese? Ah, what compassion my fellow countrymen show. To dispatch a first-class lawyer all the way from Japan to defend a mere foreign student. Noble, nurturing, never-failing Nippon! I can't with this guy. A first-class lawyer? Oh dear, I think there's been something of a misunderstanding here. I wonder, would you be so kind as to tell us what's happened? Why you've been detained as a suspect, for example? Yes, I can, I will. Shan't stay sullen and silent! I'm not quite sure I understand what he means, but he seems happy. Yes, he does. I just hope he actually has a good reason to be. Thank you for your cooperation. I am a lawyer, as you said. My name is Ryunosuke Naruhodo. And I am Naruhodo-san's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. I am a visiting student sent here by our government. I mean, same. Notably, notoriously named Natsume! Soseki Natsume. Yeah, this man is an eccentric. I am going to present him my armband. I feel he would like to see this. Yes, the symbol of one of our great empire's first-rate lawyers. Which means, of course, you'll stand by my side. You'll defend me. Oh, no, sorry, that wasn't why I was showing it to you. Then why else would you show me that? Oops, in hindsight, that probably wasn't the best idea. I don't know, I knew you'd be happy to see that. Soseki Natsume. Soseki Natsume-san? What an unusual name. Call me Soseki, please. I'm a poet, you see, a writer of haiku. It's something of a nom de plume. A nom de plume? You mean an alias? So what's your real name? I feel like maybe we should know that, if we're your lawyers. That's right, Naruhodo-san. No, no, no! Don't be so prosaic! It's much more refined than that! And haiku, that really reminds me of home. Did I hear you say that you were a visiting student sent over here by the government? Yes, that's right. A year ago I was told to go and study English. First I had to suffer that misery, and now this! It's beyond the pale! Suffer that misery? Did you not want to study here? No, I mean, I've had an interest in Great Britain for some years, of course. Oh. But just because the government tells you to do something, does it mean you can do it? No. What do you mean? If they told me to study English literature, that I could have understood. That's my field. But no, they told me to study the English language. Utterly, unbelievably, unjustly unreasonable. I see. Only the other day I was told to send a report about my first year here. I tendered a blank piece of paper. Wise words on whitewashing. You must be a man of great standing. Oh yes, so I'm often told. And often like to be told, it seems. The accusation against you. Could you perhaps tell us exactly why you've been arrested, Soseki-san? I didn't do it! I didn't commit that atrocious murder! It's not actually a murder! Murder? Oh, no, it's alright. It's all alright. The woman didn't actually die, did she? But she was stabbed with a knife right before my eyes! Then you saw who did it? Before your eyes? You mean you saw the attacker? I didn't see anyone. What? If I'd seen the person who did it, do you think I'd be locked up in here? Oh dear. It seems this case is becoming rather complicated. Why me? Why me? Why did that silly woman have to be stabbed in front of me? It's the curse of London. It's incredibly, inexcusably, irritatingly inconvenient. So, Soseki-san was there at the scene, but he didn't see the attacker. It's vital that we find out more about the case. About the case. It was an accursed evening, just after the snow had started to clear and heavy with fog. I'd been to the bookshop to buy some books and was on my way back to my accursed lodgings. Sure the bookshop wasn't accursed too? As I was walking along that accursed pavement, I could make out the sole silhouette of another ahead of me. A woman wearing a green overcoat she was, and just as I went to overtake her, she suddenly let out a little scream and collapsed on the cold, hard slabs of stone at my feet. How terrible. I called out to the woman, but she didn't move. It was like a ghostly, ghoulish, grim graveyard. Slight exaggeration there, perhaps? I was terrified. I had to get away from there. So I ran as fast as my legs would carry me back to my accursed lodgings. Aren't you supposed to go find help? Someone's been stabbed in front of you. That's not good. They'll say it was shameful, I know, to run away like that. Tell me, Saseki-san, was the victim an acquaintance of yours? Don't be ridiculous! Do you think I know any of these fair-haired English, and a young woman at that? I'm diffident, shy, timid, unsure. I can't talk to people. You don't seem that shy to me. That man definitely picked up a rhyming dictionary. I'm not sure about a rhyming dictionary, but he definitely picked up a thesaurus. I see. A young woman unnamed to Saseki-san. And at the time it happened, who else did you see nearby? Did anyone pass you? Regrettably, apart from myself and the woman, I didn't see a soul. No one? Oh, great. So the victim was unknown to you and there was no one else on the street at the time? That creates something of a conundrum, doesn't it? What conundrum? That would be the conundrum on who else possibly could have done it aside from our dude, if there wasn't anyone else there. Conundrum. What do you mean, Suzate-san? What's the conundrum? Well, if what Soseki-san has just told us is true, there's something I can't explain. He says that he didn't know the victim and that there was no one else at the scene. Then he apparently fled without having been seen. I did! But if that's the case, how did he get brought in? Okay, but if that's the case, surely this man has to be the culprit. Ah, you! What did you just say? Nothing! I didn't say anything! Oops, perhaps I thought that a little loudly. Actually, that's not what was troubling me. What I was thinking was, how did Soseki-san actually come to be arrested? Sorry? He didn't touch the victim, and there was nobody at the scene to see him. So how did the police ever discover that he was there in the first place? Oh, yes, she's right. It was him! That accursed great detective! He led the police to me! Of all the bad luck! Accursed great detective! Sorry, oh no, I saw accursed and thought it was like, let's try that one again. Accursed great detective. Could it be? I shall never forget the man's name as long as I live. With his haughty laugh and his self-proclaimed greatness. Brash, big-headed busybody, be gone! May you be cursed until the end of your days, Hairlock Sholmes! I knew it. Mr. Sholmes? Well, I didn't expect to hear that name from this man's lips, that's for sure. It was the morning after the nightmare had unfolded on the pavement before me. I was gnawing on a sliver of hard cheese when some men suddenly burst in through the door. They started shouting at me, "This is the police! Put the weapon down!" Yes, it was a thin sliver, and yes, it was hard, but I wasn't eating a weapon. Disgusting dietary discrimination devils! You clearly had a trying morning yesterday. And there he was in the middle of all the policemen, grinning like a Cheshire cat. That Hairlock Sholmes. It's actually just Herlock Sholmes. He's English. I've since found out that he's a famous name in detection here in London. Yes, Yes, the great detective is really well known. Really very well known. And his overly sharp mind managed to deduce my whereabouts, apparently. This guy is exhausting. Yeah, I'm the one having to voice him. He's very exhausting. I mean, Sherlock Sholmes is not exactly easy either, but... He thinks I'm the life-wielding madman! Me, this weak, stupid kitten of a man! I wonder what great deduction process led him to this conclusion this time. Do you mean to say that Mr. Sholmes' deduction was the only reason the police arrested you? That would be really most unreasonable. Well, the thing is, I was thrown into a panic when they barged their way in. Of course you were, that's only natural. Did you punch a policeman? Did you punch a policeman, mister? I was terrified and trembling, and they kept throwing question after question at me in impossible English. Fiendish, foreign, flammery. Well, we are in England. You can't really blame them for questioning you in English. Good point, good point. But my mind went blank. I knew I had to answer, but I didn't know what to say. So I just kept repeating things like, yes I do, and I'm fine. Yes I do was definitely not the right word, the right phrase. The next thing I knew, I was in manacles, and before I knew it, I was thrown in here. Oh dear, I'm afraid that's hardly surprising. I'm fine, he's not fine now. Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. Wow, Esquire. Oh, you can just call me Naruhodo. And when we're speaking English, a simple Mr. is more than enough. Oh, yes, alright, yes. They've really got to me. This country is poisoning my mind. But please, I beg you to defend me in court tomorrow. You can tell them what really happened. You'll do it, won't you? Well, Why is it so hard to say yes to me? Well, the thing is, I'm just a student like yourself on a study tour. A student? I have defended a case in the Old Bailey, only the one though. But at this moment in time, I really don't know what I'm supposed to believe in. I'm confused about what justice in this country even means. I don't think you should be talking about this in front of your client, Naruhodo, but sure. Oh, Naruhodo-san. I'm not even the foreign student who was supposed to be here. I'm a sort of locum lawyer, I suppose. But that armband! That's the mark of a defense lawyer from our great empire! Yeah, it's also my friend's. It's a keepsake from the man who should have been here. He was my best friend. A keepsake? I know exactly what they're saying about me. Oh, who do you mean? The lawyers. All the British defense lawyers. They won't defend me. Goodness, why? Why do you say that? For the same reason as you noted before. When it happened, there was only the victim and myself around, and I ran away from the scene of the crime. I'm not a fool. I know it looks like I must be the culprit. It must be very hard for you, Soseki-san. And anyway, I'm a student from overseas. I'm just a foreign nobody to them, someone not to be trusted. I heard them openly laughing about me before, in my earshot, without any compunction at all. Any trial for this man would be a waste of time, they said, and of course the foreigner did it. They even had the gall to say, the man doesn't understand half of what's being said anyway. That's awful. They're wrong! I've studied more English than half of the policemen out there on the streets. I've travelled halfway around the world to learn about these people's country and its great history. I thought you were here to learn English, not history, but you know. But no one here wants to listen to a man with a strange accent. They all hate me. Oops, accidentally pressed. So, at the very least, I'd like to entrust my fate to someone who can listen to me in my native tongue. You could do it, couldn't you? When I look into your eyes, I can see it. I can see what you've been through. So, Seki-san, it's just that... Give me a little time, please. I'll do what I can for the time being. What do you mean? We shall investigate the case as thoroughly as possible. If we can find some clues, it will give us a much better chance, I'm sure. Oh, yes, thank you. I'll be here, all alone, waiting for you, Locum Steward Mr. Naruhodo, Esquire. We should be going then, Naruhodo-san. We have a case to prepare for. Alright, goodbye. Goodbye, exhausting man. Now we're gonna go look at the scene of the crime. Yeah, that looks like a London street to me. You can see St. Paul's in the distance. Is that the Crystal Tower? Mm-hmm. I think it might be. 19th of February, Briar Road. Ah, some bobbies. So this is where it happened, Briar Road. Ah, look, Mr. Naruhodo. Look at that regulation metal helmet. It's unmistakable. The men of Scotland Yard are here. They're investigating as we speak. That is their job, you know. But Mr. Naruhodo, to see one with my own eyes. They're often depicted in the adventures of Herlock Sholmes, but I'd never dreamt I'd ever come this close. To a real Bobby's helmet. What? The helmet? Of course! I have to try one on one day. Well, I hope your Hattie dream comes true. Mr. Inspector? What's the Japanese delegation doing here? Oh, Inspector Gregson. This isn't on the tourist trail, as I'm fairly sure you're well aware. Yes, of course. We're here to investigate. So you've been to the holding cells then? What do you make of the criminal? He's not a criminal as you put it, Inspector. He's a suspect. Well, we'll see about that. You Japanese like to stick together, I suppose. Well, do what you will. It doesn't bother me. The bloke's in court tomorrow, whatever happens, and the verdict's a foregone conclusion. The stone-cold air of rejection. Take heart. London at this time of year is full of stone-cold air. Well, I guess. That makes it worse somehow. Yeah, yes. Susato is, really fangirling over all of this, isn't she? What's he gonna say if I show him my armband? Here, my armband. Inspector Gregson, could I show you this? Am I supposed to know what that is? I've never seen that insignia before. It's worn by defense lawyers in the Emperor of Japan as a symbol of their profession. In other words, it's a worthless trinket here in Great Britain. Oh, no, it's very important to me. It shows my spirit. An English gentleman keeps things like his spirit very much to himself, I'll have you know. Oh. Don't give up, Mr. Naruhodo. Yeah, it's too late. He has crushed my spirits already. Okay. Let's talk to the guy now. Scotland Yard. Tell me about Scotland Yard, Inspector. Ever since I read about it in the Adventures of Sherlock Holmes, I've been fascinated by the place. The Yard is the most sophisticated policing organisation you'll find anywhere in the world, ma'am. Oh, and you know I've always dreamt of wearing a real Bobby's helmet. It does make them look the part, seeing that policeman there with his helmet on. You certainly get the sense that this is a man who will take no nonsense in his duty of protecting the city. Oh yes, doesn't he look wonderful? Being a London Bobby is hard going, I can tell you. Oh, really? First thing in the morning, you know what he does? Goes round and rouses all the labourers on his beat so they can get off to work. What? He wakes people up? Yep, raps on their windows with a long pole. Did it myself going back a bit. I had no idea. The Bobby works for the people of the town. It's just another one of his duties. After that, he starts tirelessly patrolling the streets all day long. He has to cover 20 miles a day. That's the regulation distance. What, the Bobby's hats? Yeah, I think so. Well, when was the last time I saw a real Bobby's hat? Then again, it's not like I'm in London very often. It's not like I'm anywhere where I see policemen very often, usually. And a lot of them are the community officers, and they have different kinds of hats. I've definitely seen some. They're not typically wearing those full black suits though. They're usually wearing high-vis. But the hats, I'm pretty sure they still use the hats. Some of them. I can't really imagine how far that is, but it sounds like a long way. You only saw when you went to Manchester for Comic-Con a few years back. Oh! you went to MCM Comic-Con in Manchester, was it? Or was it a different Comic-Con? They've stopped doing the Manchester one now, which is kind of sad. Let me see. 20 miles, that's approximately the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama. Ah, it was MCM. Cool, cool. Yeah, in the, oh, what do they call it these days? The Manchester Central Convention Centre, I think is what they call it these days. I actually can't remember what it was off the top of my head, what it was before they changed the name of the place now. Oh, I feel I should remember that. Yeah, Manchester MCM is definitely a lot smaller than London. That's true. I like it better. You can actually do it in a day. You can't really do the London one in a day these days. There's way too much stuff. So the distance from Tokyo to Yokohama, huh? Okay. On foot? That's definitely taking things a step too far. Yeah, actually 20 miles a day on foot is a lot. That's a lot. You want to do the London one someday? The problem is, they've made the London one way too expensive these days. Like, I was fine going to them when they were cheaper than a proper weekend convention. Like a fan-run one. Sorry, I have a particular definition on conventions. Like a proper one is a small fan-run one that maybe that doesn't go over like 2,000 people. Anything above that that's basically a massive dealer's hall is like... They used to call the MCM events MCM Expo, so I sort of think of them as expos rather than cons. But like, if it's that pricey already and most of what's available to do is just buying things, it's like, I don't know about that. And when it gets dark, of course, he has the important job of lighting all the gas street lamps. Oh my. I suppose in between all of those duties, Bobbies are expected to investigate cases as well. And chase after criminals trying to evade the law. I'm not sure you could call it in between exactly, more alongside, but yes. They're expected to handle those jobs as well. We do have men keeling over from time to time, I admit. €20 entry is very reasonable, but 33,000. I don't actually know the numbers that London gets these days. I don't have those numbers in my brain offhand. Yeah, €20 is a perfectly reasonable entry fee. London's up to like about, I think it's at least 35 per day now. At least. If not more. And as I said, you can't really do everything in one day. Not properly. Whereas, for some of the smaller weekend conventions here, they might be about maybe £70 for the entire weekend, which is way more reasonable, because there's a lot more to do there in terms of events. I've always dreamt of wearing one of those helmets, as I said. But it's with a heavy heart that I shall have to relinquish that dream to you, Mr. Naruhodo. Your heavy heart will be my heavy head if you do. Alright, about the case. It happened at around 5 in the evening 2 days ago. Just there on the open bit of pavement. The victim, a young woman, was stabbed with a blade from behind. Is it right that the lady is unconscious now? You mentioned that she's being treated in hospital. I never said she was a lady. Truth is, unless she comes around pretty smartish, we won't be able to find out much about her at all. I suppose that means they haven't been able to take a statement from her, of course. Here's a map of the local area I happen to have on me. You can take it if you want. Really, you sure? It's yard policy to give lawyers to defending suspects the odd bit of information to go on. I haven't actually accepted the job yet, but still. Thank you, Inspector. We gratefully accept. The local map has been entered into the court record. Local map, a street map of the local area showing where the victim was found. Alright, let's go. Let's have a look. Let's examine the local map. Meersham Street, Briar Road, Calabash Road. X marks the spot. not a lot to go out there. What's going on with these buildings that aren't actually attached to any road? Like these ones in the middle. What's up with those? Anyway, as far as we know, there was no one else on the scene other than the victim and your fellow countrymen. So who did it, do you think? Not much of a head-scratcher, is it? Well, I know Mr. Natsume is also claiming not to have seen anyone else around, but just because he didn't see anyone, it doesn't mean we can be sure that nobody else was present. I'm sorry to have to tell you, but we most certainly can be sure. How? Because, ma'am, the precise moment of the stabbing didn't go unnoticed. What? We have two very reliable witnesses, no less. Ah. It was a typical foggy London day, and your client obviously didn't see them. There were witnesses now? Witnesses? Who are these witnesses, Inspector? A fellow and his wife, and the man's one of the most reliable and respected citizens in all of London. He's a copper from Scotland Yard. Oh. A policeman? That might change things. And this policeman just happened to be there at the exact moment the woman was attacked? Nothing peculiar about that man, part and parcel of being a bobby. Catching him banging the act and all that. I feel like my accent for this guy is getting stronger as I go. I am sorry. Do you think it might be possible for us to ask that policeman a few questions? Be my guest. You can ask him what you like. In court tomorrow. Oh. I've no doubt he'll be summoned as a witness. So that'll give you something to look forward to. That's that then. He's got no intention of letting us meet the man beforehand, it seems. I mean, that makes sense. Don't want to mess with the witness beforehand, right? A policeman witnessed the incident? Is your judicial... No. Why can I not say judicial now? Judicial. Right. As your judicial assistant, I must warn you that this could make our job very difficult indeed. Respected like McGilded was. Yeah, McGilded. Yes, as a non-judicial assistant, I could have warned me of that too. Oh, yes, one more thing, Inspector. What? The person who led you to the suspect, I hear it was Mr. Herlock Sholmes? What are you bringing him up for? Was it something I said? The colour has drained from his cheeks. Let's go for tomorrow's trial. Let's work our way down. Twitchy Japanese bloke goes on trial tomorrow. Are you going to defend him or not? Well, makes no difference to me, but I will just say this. No London lawyer worth his salt would touch that case with a barge pole. Because the prosecution is being handled by the Reaper of the Bailey, you mean? There's no way to save the man now, it's a waste of time trying. He's all a bit strange, though. Sorry? The Reaper. He hasn't appeared in court once for a good few years now. Yes, we did hear something to that effect. And the only people he usually bothers with are the real scum. The master criminals, the violent ones. Master criminals? The violent ones? That's right, he handpicks his victims, only deals with those guaranteed to go to the gallows for their sins. But Mr. Natsume wouldn't hang for what he's accused of, surely? That's just my point, sunshine. Yes, the young woman was stabbed, but he didn't kill her. Couldn't even say the intent was there. So this isn't the sort of case I'd be expecting the Reaper to want to sink his teeth into, for want of a better phrase. Well, it's not exactly a minor infraction, is it? No, there's got to be more to it. Some reason he's taking an interest. Yeah, the Reaper only takes the high-profile cases, and every single time, they die. I would really like to know what Lord Van Zeeks did to McGilded. Well, I mean, I guess it's obvious. Someone shot him in that omnibus and set it on fire. But, really, what sorts of reason, Inspector? You think I can tell what's going on inside the head of that Lord of Darkness? You have to ask him yourself at tomorrow's trial. Are we really going to have to face the Reaper again? The Lord of Darkness, as he puts it? Mr. Shones. Who did you hear that name from? Oh, well, it was Mr. Natsume who mentioned it. He said that Mr. Shones was with the police when they entered his lodgings. I'm sure it was the result of one of Mr. Shones' inspirational great deductions. Fiddle faddle. The man's an amateur, and I'm getting sick and tired of him showing his mug everywhere. Oh. I don't know where he gets his information from, but he turns up at the scene of the crime, wanders around spouting incomprehensible rubbish, and before you know it, he claims to have solved the case. Yes, he's quite astounding, isn't he? He is a great help to Scotland Yard, though, isn't he? Gibble gabble. Ah. Oh, Nick, you weren't around the last time Mr. Shones was around, were you? Well, we had to correct his deductions because he messed up so much. Ever seen this before? Oh, yes, that's Runst magazine. The wonderful publication in which the adventures of Herlock Sholmes appears. Yes, well, that wonderful publication, as you put it, sees fit to include several of the Yard's detectives in its stories. And the so-called great detective makes a mockery of all of us. If you ask anyone at the Yard, it's a misadventure to be included in any Herlock Sholmes tale at all. Well, I suppose there is an element of that. We work our socks off, every one of us, only to be fronted by the public thanks to that obnoxious detective. The man's as dangerous to us at Scotland Yard as he is to all our criminals. That can't really be true, can it, Inspector? Clearly, the great detective and the police have a complex relationship. Well, I don't think we're going to get any more useful information out of the detective. Mr. Naruhodo, can I make a suggestion? Oh, yes, what is it? Well, it seems to me that we must speak with him about this. By him, do you mean Mr. Sholmes? Yes, Mr. Herlock Sholmes, exactly. Look at those shining eyes. You can't wait, can you? Well, Mr. Natsume did blame Mr. Sholmes for all of this, didn't he? Yes, he did. He really did. Which makes him an involved party in the case. Are you just going to ignore that? I hope not. I assure you, it's not simply my selfish desire to meet with Mr. Sholmes again. I don't think she is losing belief in it. I think she's as fangirl as ever. The trouble is, we have no idea of the man's address even. It's Baker Street. Yeah, 221B Baker Street, right? How do you know that? It's in the stories, of course. 221 Baker Street, the most famous address in the world. Yeah. It's definitely one of the most known addresses in the world. Given that I could do it off the top of my head, but I can also do P. Sherman, Wallaby Way, Sydney off the top of my head. Oh, I see. Well, there's nothing to stop us from going, I suppose. We'd better try and find our way there before Susato-san gets any more excited and unpredictable. Hurrah! I'll summon a carriage. Susato, we need to search the rest of this place first. So we'd have a reunion already. With the great detective Mr. Herlock Sholmes. Right. Examine! Let's have a look around, shall we? 10... yeah, I guess there's 10 Downing Street, but that's not nearly as interesting, is it? Man, this is such a good London street. Look at it. Oh, that's a Scotland Yard carriage. They use vehicles like that to rush to crime scenes and cart away criminals. You're very well informed, aren't you? It's long been a dream of mine to ride in one of those through the streets of London. Well, just pick up a stone and throw it through one of the windows then. But that would mean being arrested in order to ride it. Yeah, but it's the easiest way to ride it. Wouldn't it? Still, if it's the only way, help me find a good stone. No, Susato, we're not having you get arrested. For criminal damages. No, I wasn't serious. Let's look at the snowman. Ah, we can't examine the snowman. That's a good snowman, that is. What a delightful snowman. I didn't realise the English had a tradition of making snowmen as well. It looks a little creepy though. Oh, it has a scarf, look. You'd need one if you were out in this freezing cold all the time. I wish I had one. I'm afraid our budget is somewhat frozen at the moment too. We certainly can't afford a scarf. Surely the snowman here wouldn't miss his. But the person who made the snowman certainly would. Yes, I know, you're right. Anyway. Even if I borrowed it, it wouldn't do much to warm my neck, would it? It's covered in snow. Alright, let's talk to a Bobby. That's one of the officers from Scotland Yard. The police are making sure the crime scene is undisturbed. I have a feeling that if we were to wander too close, we'd be clapped in irons. I think perhaps you're being a little overcautious. We've done nothing wrong, so we have no cause for concern. Oh no, I'm not getting caught out again. Twice is enough. Twice I found myself in handcuffs despite not knowing a thing about what was going on. Yes, you've had some dreadful experiences. I'm sure it's that wide-eyed look of panic you're so prone to. It does you no favours at all. This patch of pavement must be where the incident occurred. Yes, it's a very wide open space, isn't it? That's true, I can't see anywhere an attacker could have been hiding. Except in the snowman. No. Oi, what are you foreigners doing here? Oh, just investigating the scene, officer. Conspiring with that mustache fellow from Japan, are you? Conspiring? Come here to destroy evidence, have you? Get out of here before I give you a hiding. Go on. He shooed us away like rats. Yes, we should give him a wide berth, I think. What a disappointing experience. That looks like everything on this side. Let's go this way and see what's going on over here. That's... looks like that bicycle's been in an accident. Oh, a British bicycle, look! Although the wheel is so misshapen, I'm sure it couldn't possibly be ridden anymore. Someone must have been doing some breakneck cycling. It seems bicycles have become extremely popular in London recently. There's even a movement to change women's dress to allow them to ride as well. Ah, yes, you good old split skirts. The bicycle fad won't last. I don't see why anyone would want to ride something like that. Well, Ryunosuke, you're wrong. A lot of people like to ride bicycles. I'm not sure how popular they are in London. I guess they're pretty popular in London at the moment. They're a lot more, they're very, very popular in Oxford. A tip if you're ever visiting Oxford. If you're in a car, park at one of the park and rides and catch the bus in. You do not want to drive into the middle of Oxford. It is full of bicycles and it is not fun at all. Goodness, do you dislike bicycles? No, not at all. I mean, it's not that I dislike them exactly. It's just that any occupation that involves taking both your feet off firm ground seems reckless. If you'd ever tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river, I know you'd agree with me. Ryunosuke, have you tried walking on stilts and fallen into a river? We'll have to hire a bicycle sometime. You can sit behind me while I ride you around. That's a rather typical old brick building, isn't it? I'm sure it has a long and interesting history. Well, time certainly seems to have taken its toll on the place. It's crooked and sagging all over. In fact, it looks in decidedly worse shape than the other houses around here. We must find some cheap lodgings ourselves as soon as possible. Yes, you're right. Cheap, but ideally within reasonably level with reasonably level floors. I don't have great balance either. Like yeah, I wouldn't want to try stilts. I can't even balance properly on roller skates. Or I couldn't the last time I tried, which was a very long time ago, because it was not an enjoyable thing. Ditto ice skates. I'm pretty sure I fell on my face the last time I tried ice skating. Which is kind of dangerous on an ice skating rink. Oh, look at the windows of that building there. They're bricked up. Why are they bricked up? Are you sure they're windows? Yes, but they're all filled in with bricks. Oh, you're right. I wonder why. Maybe it's a rough neighborhood. And the windows kept getting broken. It looks like there is windows once you get up to the second floor. Perhaps it's an empty property where nobody lives at the moment. There's smoke coming out from the chimneys, though. Oh dear, everything still feels very foreign. Ooh, hit yourself in the face with a skipping rope. Yeah. I'm not sure I've ever done that. I hit myself in the head with nunchucks once. Training nunchucks. They're covered in foam so that you don't hurt yourself, but it still hurt. Do you see all the black smoke rising from the chimneys over there? It says here that in Great Britain, many people heat their homes in winter using coal. The only chimneys I really remember seeing in Japan were on top of the bathhouse. Do you think some of those houses could be on fire? Not at all. Well, even so. How much thick smoke billowing up to the heavens is surely going to turn the whole sky black sooner or later. Gosh, you may be right about that. Good old London smog, eh? The clouds look so big and heavy in the sky, don't they? And with the dense fog as well, everything looks hazy. Well, it is known as Foggy London Town. I can just make out some sort of spire through the fog. It looks like it's still being built, though. Aha! Yes! That must be the Crystal Tower, being built for the great exhibition that's to open in 6 months' time. Apparently it's going to be very striking, glazed on all sides and the symbolic centerpiece of the exhibition. Oh no, you got a box thrown at you. It's to be the largest expedition in history, isn't it? Can't even begin to imagine it. Okay. So we've done that, because that's what we just talked about. Yeah, so that is the Crystal Tower. Kind of... Oh, wait. We've got something down here. The road. There are piles of snow on the pavement here and there, but the road itself is covered in carriage tracks. It seems carriages often travel down Briar Road. It soon disperses all the snow. I slipped over when I was walking down the pavement earlier. It seems like it would be far safer to walk on the road instead. Well, you mean aside from the carriages, because that would probably hurt if you got hit by one of those. Oh, but you're rather small, Mr. Naruhodo, and dressed all in black. I worry coachmen might not see you and you could be flattened by horses. Well, thank you for the rather small concern. Okay, I think we've seen everything, and I guess it's time to go to 221B Baker Street. A new location has been added. Sholmes' Suite. 221 Baker Street. Home and office of the most famous detective in the world. Ooh, animation time.
Thank you very much.
It's just up there overlooking the street. Good day.
Good day.
Thanks again. This is it. The residence of Mr. Herlock Sholmes.
Looks very nice and fancy, doesn't it? I can see a marble bust of Napoleon, some playing cards, an hourglass, a couple of chess pieces, a shoe on a shelf for some reason, another shoe on the mantelpiece that looks like a jester's shoe, and a letter that for some reason is stuck in the wall with a knife. There's some interesting things in this room. Seeing that Naruhodo carries a sword, I'm impressed he isn't being halted every 5 seconds by the police. Right. I don't know why. I don't know why my friend Kazuma decided that bringing a sword to London was a good idea, but since it's all I have left of him, I'm carrying it around, I guess. Maybe it's been peace bonded. Maybe we're not being stopped because it's been peace bonded. I like that fire is actually animated. That's really cool. 19th of February, 12:53 p.m. Sholmes' suite. So this is where the great detective makes his living. It feels surreal to be here somehow. Is it as described in the stories, Miss Susato? Susato-san. Many famous cases have been solved here in this very room. Oh, I suppose they must have been, yes. I've never read the stories, so it's hard to get quite as excited about it as she seems to be. The detective chases the villain relentlessly as he disappears into the fog down an unlit London street. Oh, the thrill of it, the romanticism! Can't you feel your heart thumping in your chest? What kind of contraption is that? The thing on the wall? I have no clue. It seems to be... It's got some kind of binoculars attached to it, so maybe it's like a giant microscope. Can't you, Mr. Naruhodo? Oh, I suppose I can, yes. So if you don't mind, I'll just stand here and soak up the atmosphere for a while longer. Please, don't mind me. She's obsessed. Well, it looks like our detective friend isn't home at present. Excuse me, is anyone home? Sorry, is anybody home? Who do I think this is gonna be? I'm just gonna go with my regular voice on this before I know who's coming. Oh, do we have a visitor? Okay, it is this little lady. Hello, is it a big new case for Mr. Sholmes? Hello. Wait. Aren't you... Oh, how rude of me. I'll go and make some tea at once. I'm sure it's the same girl. Miss Susato, did you see the girl who was just here? Oh, yes, isn't it truly extraordinary? To think that the King of Bohemia came to this very room to ask Mr. Sholmes to take on his case. The King of Bohemia? King Wilhelm Gottfried Let's try that one again. King Wilhelm Gottfried Sigismund von Ormstein, of course. Sorry, I'm drawing a blank. Forget the adventures of Sherlock Sholmes for a moment and look over there. The tea's brewed, and I have freshly baked cake as well. It's you. I knew it. Susato-san recognizes her too. Ah, there you are. And taking that with you as well. I was looking forward to the trial run of my experimental smoke grenade launcher. Oh, good day to you. I'm, well, the inventor, I suppose, of that machine. The girl who turned up at the end of Mr. McGilder's trial in the defendant's antechamber. I've never met a lawyer from the Far East before. Poor you, having to get straight to work when you've only just arrived in London. Oh, yes, it was challenging. Well, try this tea. It's my special blend, you know. Oh, thank you. Is tea supposed to look that colour? Oh my, what a fragrant yet mellow flavour. Hooray, it's a winner! I tried blending different leaves designed to alleviate fatigue, you see. You must be exhausted after your long voyage here, and you have another ticklish trial tomorrow. Oh, and you're to defend a Japanese man. I do wish you lots and lots of luck. Did Mr. Sholmes tell you about us by any chance? Oh, you know Hurley, do you? Hurley? Mr. Sholmes to you, surely. Mr. Sholmes was a fellow passenger on the boat that brought us to Great Britain, you see. Was he really? Well, I had no idea. I'm afraid Hurley's out on an errand again today, even though he's just returned from overseas. Wait a minute. We met this girl for the first time ever yesterday after the trial, and only briefly at that. How on earth does she know so much about us? Did she deduce all of those things, do you think? And perhaps more to the point, why is she here in Mr. Sholmes' suite? Oh, silly me! I haven't introduced myself, have I? Oh, what a lovely curtsy. It's a great pleasure to meet you both. My name is Iris Wilson. I live here together with Hurley. Ah, Iris, is it? What a lovely name. What? What's the matter? No, wait, this can't be. Did you say that your name is Wilson? What's the matter with Susato-san? Why is she so flustered all of a sudden? Yes, that's right. And what are your names? Oh, I'm Ryunosuke Naruhodo, a lawyer from Japan. Oh, sorry. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant, Susato Mikotoba. It's wonderful to meet you. Lovely! Susie and Runo! Got it. Yeah, she must be Watson, right? Because I mean, in the introductory thing that's from the perspective of the Sholmes books, it's Wilson rather than Watson, so she must be Watson. Susie and Runo. It's more to this girl than meets the eye. You know, I like the little heart shape in between her goggles, but I also can't help but think that it would be uncomfortable to wear since that's supposed to be like the nose bridge. Wouldn't it be stabby on your nose? I have so many questions for her. I don't know where to start. Yes, and so do I. Let's present my armband. Armband. Iris, can I show you this? Oh, how exciting! What is it? Tell me all about it. Oh, actually, I was hoping you might be able to tell me something about it if anything else comes to mind. Why would it? Well, no, I suppose it wouldn't. Tell me, I want to hear everything! This hasn't gone according to plan. Oh, I didn't get a special thing for showing her my armband. Sadness. Iris. It was you that we ran into yesterday, wasn't it? At the Old Bailey? Yes, that's right. You were ever so helpful. Thank you so much. Oh, no, not at all. I'm so sorry we couldn't have been more welcoming. Though at the time we did have a rather large gun pointed at us. Like this? Yes, exactly like that, Iris. Ah, thinking back now, you left with Miss Lestrade in tow, didn't you? Oh yes, that awkward witness, that awkward witness, Gina Lestrade. Oh, Ginny? Yes, she's a professional pickpocket. So we found out. It was very naughty of her to pinch my invention like that. Are you referring to that trial-disrupting gun-like contraption? Exactly, so I followed her, you see, to get it back. Perhaps I should think about fitting a self-destruct mechanism to my inventions. This girl is dangerous. Anyway, I brought Ginny back here after that, so she could apologise to my trusty technician. Sorry, your technician? Hurley, of course, silly. Hurley? Yes, Herlock Sholmes, we live here together. I had no idea the great Checker had such an interesting young daughter. Daughter? Not likely. What? I wouldn't call him Hurley if he was my father, would I? Well then, what's your relationship with Mr. Sholmes? Well, I expect you found out that lodgings of any kind in London are very expensive. So the solution is to share the cost with a partner, a roommate. Your roommates? I hope you don't mind me asking, Iris, but how old are you? 10 at last this year! Well, what of your mother and father? Oh no, they're not around. Oh, I see. I wonder what the story is there. This is a 10-year-old genius inventor, huh? Wilson. Oh yes, there's something I must ask you. Of course, go ahead, Susie. I'm a very great fan of the adventures of Herlock Sholmes and... Oh, you have a copy of Rats magazine! Yes, I read every issue. It's delivered all the way to Japan on a ship. Oh, this is exciting! My stories are being read on the other side of the world! My stories? That's right! Hurley is always solving such amazing cases, you see, and he tells me all about them. They really are quite fascinating. It would be such a shame if I were the only one who ever heard them, don't you think? Yeah, I'm pretty sure she's gonna want an autograph on every copy of Rents magazine she has on her person, which I guess is probably just the one. I guess the rest are at home. Goodness! Last night he was telling me all about a new case he just solved on a steamship travelling from a faraway land. So I was just in the middle of typing up the manuscript for the next issue before you came. So you are the author? Yes, I'll let you in on a secret if you like. I'm going to call this latest adventure the Speckled Band. The Speckled Band? That's certainly very familiar. Of course, I always change one or two details in the stories, here and there. This time I had the idea of making a venomous snake be the cause of all the trouble. Oh, that was Mr. Sholmes' first thought as well, actually. Yes, and of course I knew that a snake might not be a credible fit for the facts of the case exactly, but... It's a story. Some poetic license is justified to make it more thrilling, I think. Don't you? So, do you mean to say... Are the stories about Mr. Sholmes that are published in Rants magazine... all written by me? Yes! On my wonderful and very modern typewriter. But all the stories I've ever read are written by a doctor of medicine, Dr. John H. Wilson. That would be a nom de plume, I suppose. Susette-san's getting more and more worked up. Ah, yes, that's me. I mean, my name really is Wilson. But what about the Doctor of Medicine part? That's all true too. I am a Doctor of Medicine. You're 10! No, at 10 years old? At 10 years old. Well, that's quite incredible. But... Dr. Wilson was an English gentleman. Yes. I did alter the setting slightly for the stories to be more compelling. Oh. And also because writing under a male pseudonym was probably a better bet to get your stories published at that point in time. It does sound a little strange, doesn't it? A great detective with a 10-year-old girl in tow. I suppose it does, yes. Poor Susette-san, she looks like her whole world has just fallen apart. About before. Yes, what's on your mind, Bruno? Do tell me. How did you know that I was a lawyer and we just arrived in London, I mean? Yes! Oh, and that we had a difficult trial tomorrow. How did you know all of that? Oh, that's what you mean. Please, tell us how you did it. Explain every detail. Of course, I'd be delighted. Although, there's really no mystery. Now, let's begin. Iris Wilson is proud to present her Logic and Reasoning Spectacular. Yeah, those goggles really look like they'd sort of be stabbing your nose, don't they? First of all, I knew already that you were a lawyer, Bruno. After all, I met you yesterday at the Old Bailey in the defendant's antechamber. But you also said we'd only just arrived in London. How did you know that? I observed a passport and travel ticket protruding from your breast pocket. Oh. So I was reasonably confident that you must have only just arrived in the country. And on top of that, you accepted a case against that particular prosecutor, telling me you were unaware of London's court affairs. The Reaper of the Bailey? I walked right into that one, didn't I? Then I noticed a red ink stamp on the back of Susie's hand. You were given that when you visited the local prison to meet with a suspect, weren't you? Earlier today. Ah. They use those stamps to keep a close eye on comings and goings, you see. I didn't realise. And a red stamp is only used for people visiting foreign inmates. So, that told me that even though you'd only yesterday concluded the trial of Magnus McGilded, the two of you had already caused a visit to foreign inmates at the local prison. However, neither of you was wearing a particularly sad expression on your face, so I concluded that the prisoner was unlikely to be a friend or a relative. That led me to believe that you must have accepted a new case. I see. But how could you have known that the trial is tomorrow? Well, having barely been home a few hours yesterday, Hurley solved yet another case. It's obviously amused him. He told me that he'd caught a Japanese man who was boiling and trembling. A Japanese man? Well, clearly that must have been... Mr. Natsume. This girl is definitely smarter than Sholmes. Yeah, I was gonna say that. I was gonna say that. She's so much better at this than he is. Now, Runo has that fancy Japanese sword. And I think your outfit is called a kimono, isn't it, Susie? Well, anyway, it was clear to me that you both came from Japan yourselves. So I put two and two together and decided you must be defending the Japanese man Hurley caught. And there was only one conclusion those facts could lead me to. You both came here to ask Hurley about the case. There's a note on the mantelpiece that says the man's trial will be tomorrow. Hurley's always stabbing his notes with a knife, you know. He is silly. Oh, so that's what the thing stabbed with a knife is. Why does he do that? And that's all there was to it, really. Thank you for listening. I'm Iris Wilson, and that was one of my great deductions. Well, was it a winner? Were my deductions correct? They were spot on. That was amazing, Iris. Truly a great deduction. You even managed to certain something of Mr. Sholmes' delivery. Oh, well, we're just copying Hurley's style for that. This is really very good news. You could tell us all about the case involving the Japanese man. You will, won't you, Iris? Please. So yesterday Mr. Sholmes apprehended a Japanese man, you were saying? Yes. Hurley had just arrived back in London after his sea voyage. But the police were waiting for him at the railway station to take him directly to the crime scene. Ah, the great detective is a popular man, it seems. Apparently a woman was stabbed on a quiet street somewhere in town. There were witnesses who had seen a short, shifty-looking stooped man running away from the scene. A short, shifty-looking stooped man. Mr. Natsume beyond any doubt. Soseki-san said he didn't see anybody else on the street at all. But it seems there were witnesses after all. Hurley used his great deductive powers to determine the man's address. It was a lodging room very nearby. He went directly there with the police, and what did they find? A short, shifty-looking, stooped man shivering in fear. Mr. Sholmes' great deduction certainly hit the mark that time. Of course it did, he's a great detective. Susato, you've watched me fix his deductions before! Still, that means the incident occurred only 2 days ago. Surely tomorrow is too soon for the trial, isn't it? Definitely! We have no time to investigate properly. Hurley says that London is rife with crime. Oh. Scotland Yard is doing its best, but they can't stay on top of it, apparently. Oh dear, I hadn't realised the situation was so dire. That's why they can't afford to spend too much time investigating cases and trying the criminals in court. Steph and money are both short. Crimes are usually pinned on the first suspicious person. That doesn't sound a whole lot like justice to me. That's terrible. I suppose it's the harsh reality of the workings of the world's greatest justice system. It doesn't sound all that great to me. I suppose it is, but in that case, I don't hold out much hope for Soseki-san. Thank you for answering so many of our questions, Iris. This has been very informative. Has it? I don't think I learned all that much. Oh, you're most welcome. I've had so much fun. Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is at the moment? As you guessed, we'd like to ask him some questions about this case as well. Well, I expect Hurley is still investigating the scene. But we were just there and we didn't see him. Of the case involving Mr. Natsume, you mean? Yes, Mr. Natsume? Hurley said he was going to the man's lodgings. If you leave now, you can probably catch him there. Iris, do you know where those lodgings are? Is it the bricked up windows? It's the place with the bricked up windows, isn't it? Well, I imagine the police are still investigating the scene of the crime themselves, aren't they? Did you happen to come across a detective by the name of Gregson while you were there? Yes, we know Inspector Gregson. Oh, goody! In that case, give Gregsy this from me, would you? If you do that, I'm sure he'll tell you what you want to know. What is this? A 5-shilling piece and a postcard, it seems. Iris's postcard has been entered into the court record. It reads, "Tell the gentleman in black whatever he wants to know. I trust that won't be a problem." Gosh, this will make the inspector help us, will it? That looks like a bribe. Well, thank you, Iris. We'll give it a try. Good luck then. I'm going to return to writing my manuscript, The Speckled Band. And I'll be making more special blends of tea, so come back again soon. We'd be delighted. Thank you so much, Iris. Well, Mr. Naruhodo, it's back to the scene of the crime. So, somewhat dubious that they would exert any influence over the men of Scotland Yard at all. We headed back to the scene with Iris's curious note and one of the world's heaviest silver coins in hand. Let's go bribe a Barbie! Let's go bribe a Barbie! Save my current progress. Yes, I would like to save my current progress. Doo-doo. Doo-doo. And given that the sections in this game are tend to be similar lengths, and looking at the time, this is probably a good point to stop. I think. So I'm gonna call it that. Thank you very much for coming. It's been fun. We've had some certainly interesting characters appear this time. I think I need a better voice for Iris. But I'm not good at going much higher. I feel like she should be a little higher pitched, being that she's like a 10-year-old. I don't know. Anyway, if you're new here and you've enjoyed your time, please consider subscribing to the channel. Follow me on Twitter, which is where the schedule for the week is posted in a pinned tweet, although actually I had to make a amendment to that because I forgot which week it was, and I'm busy on Sunday, so there isn't actually a stream on Sunday, even though the schedule says that. The next scheduled stream will be Monday, 7 PM, and hopefully, fingers crossed, I will have Pokemon Shining Pearl by then, and it'll be that. But I will post the schedule Sunday night, and you'll know then. Because if Pokemon doesn't arrive tomorrow, I guess I might set something else as Monday. No, it's gonna hopefully be Monday for Pokemon. I really hope so. So anyway, once again, thanks for coming. It's been fun, and this is Kalla signing off. See ya. Bye bye.